Welcome to the Morning Report, a production of fightbackmedia.com, the #1 source of urban conservative information in America.
Well, good morning, and welcome to the Morning Report. My name is Willie Lawson. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. We appreciate you being here this glorious morning. It's a sunshiny, beautiful day in West Central Florida, and I have a special guest this morning. The gentleman on my, I don't know what it's going to look like when we actually put it up, but the gentleman next to me is a friend of mine. His name is Steve Cona III. Now, Steve Cona has been involved in the local in our local community at all sorts of levels for a long time now, and has a really good finger on the pulse of what is actually happening. Now, it is election season, and what we know about election season is that, especially every 4 years, we get all caught up. I mean, super caught up in the, it was happening, in DC, and that becomes our identity, who we are. Are you Trump? Are you Biden? Are you Harris? As opposed to looking at the things that actually matter. I think that a lot of times we die by 1,000 cuts, and those 1,000 cuts don't necessarily come from the federal level. They come from downtown, a place you could drive to in 15 minutes. And that's, like my son says, that's where they get you. And that's what I have Steve on today. We've got some ballot initiatives on our ballot that I think that if you're local here, and if you're local somewhere else, please look into your ballot for the stuff that's local, because that's where they get you. That's just as important. And in an immediacy level, probably more important than what will happen in DC. I'm not saying don't pay attention to that, but I guess now we got to pay attention to all of it, right, Steve?
That's exactly right, Willie. And it's great to be with you. My job is to battle those 1,000 cuts. Every year, death by 1,000 cuts. I make my living trying to make that as easy as we possibly can for the construction industry and as painless as we can. But you have to keep your focus on what's happening locally, because that is the government that most affects you most of the time. So it's great to be here and to talk about all these great issues that we have on the plate today.
All right, let's go ahead and start with what's affecting everybody in the state of Florida right now. There are a number of ballot initiatives that are set to change the constitution of the state of Florida. And I think when you're thinking about changing your constitution, which means you are adding to or amending the way that the state is or the entity is based, that's an important thing, and that's not frivolous, not at all. So what's your strategy? Because I have a strategy when I see ballot initiatives, and people who watch this program already know what mine is. And I see I see ballot cards put out by Democrats and Republicans about vote for this one and not this one and that and the other. What's your strategy when you see this kind of stuff?
Well, I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not a big fan of people with means, the John Morgans of the world that can spend tens of millions of dollars and put a ballot initiative on the ballot for people to vote for and change the Constitution. I mean, there is some saving grace, is that if these ballot initiatives or these amendments pass, they have to pass by an overwhelming majority, which is over 60%. So it doesn't look like many of them are actually tracking to be over 60%. So I think we elect people to make laws. I don't think we elect millionaires to spend money to put stuff on the ballot. That's just my 2 cents. And I usually am very skeptical about any constitutional amendment that's on the ballot.
Well, that's exactly what I do, and y'all know my strategy is to say, well, no, because what you see, and I think that we have to really get people to understand this. What you see in a little box, or what you see on the petition, is not the law. The law has to go backwards through the process and actually be written. And what we don't see is at that point, that's an opportunity for the lobbyists, for the people who got this stuff on the ballot to really start making inroads and changes that you never saw coming, and there was no way possible that you could stop at that point because it's too late.
Right.
So my thought always is like, no, thank you. If this is important to you, get with your Congress critter or your legislative whatever, and get a bill. Go through the process right. We learned this when we were little. I'm only a bill up in Tallahassee or on Capitol Hill. Go through the process. If you can't find a way to go through the process, then maybe it's not something that should be done. Just saying.
Yep.
Just
no,
saying.
You're exactly right, and that's kind of my feeling. So I take all of them. I research as much as I can about it, and normally my answer is mostly no. So.
Yeah. Because don't you find that sometimes, and this is with basically everything that is put out in front of us, that if you look at some of the titles, you go, well, that kind of seems like a good idea.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of seems like a good idea.
Yeah, but what's the phrase they say? The devil is where?
It's in the details, buddy. It's in the details.
That's exactly right. Speaking of devils in the details, it's time for the renewal of the community investment half-cent sales tax. As I remember the history of the community investment tax, there was a ballot initiative, a local initiative to raise money for teachers and firefighters and the like, and it went down in flames. So they later restructured the thing, the next cycle, and what we got was, hey, we can build a stadium because we don't build a stadium, we can lose the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And that fired a bunch of people up, and the community investment tax went through. So many times sitting down with my friend Ted Webb talking about this, I can't even tell you. Every time this gets mentioned, I think of my friend Ted Webb, who used to be a local radio person in NRA and a real good friend of mine. This time, it's time for a renewal, Steve. It reads this: shall Hillsborough County renew the existing local government infrastructure surtax, locally known as the Community Investment Half-Cent Sales Tax, commencing December 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2041. I said 2041. To be shared with the municipalities and the school board to fund infrastructure for transportation, public works, public safety, public facilities, public utilities, public schools. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think timing is going to hurt. This. I think when you see what the people of Hillsborough County are dealing with, obviously the cost of housing is through the roof. 2 back-to-back hurricanes, which is almost going to guarantee insurance premiums are going up. The cost to be in your home is going to be expensive. I think it's bad timing. But as a former elected official, I did see, the benefits of what we were able to do with the CIT funds for the school district's perspective, building schools, putting in the infrastructure necessary to meet the demands of our student population. But I think, the school district really, really messed up here. And this, one tax is bad. Adding another tax, putting 2 taxes on the ballot at the same time, I think is going to be a tough sell for people in this election. And I really don't know the answer to that. I know that people talk to the school district about saying, hey, let's just go for the CIT this year. And then you can then do your property tax, request in 2026. School district didn't want to do that. I guess they were tone deaf, wanted to be extra greedy and try to double dip on the taxpayers. And I think they're going to, unfortunately, the CIT tax, I think both taxes are on an uphill battle. And I think the CIT tax has more value to Hillsborough County because it's just a renewal. So it's not an additional tax. But you throw, a 1 mil property tax increase on top of that. And I just don't think the average voter goes to the polls and says, oh, this tax is okay, but this one's not. I think you're either for taxation or you're not. And I think most people during this time in Hillsborough County are not for it. So
Yeah, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. The other local referendum is the school board of Hillsborough County millage election for public schools to provide educational excellence for student learning by ensuring competitive salaries. There is no study that I'm aware of that connects teacher pay to student achievement. Is there? Or am I missing something?
no, I was on the school board for a while and never saw a study like that. No.
As a matter of fact, it seems like those who are in other educational venues like private schools who don't get paid the salary and don't have the benefits for all sorts of reasons that really affect student achievement actually have better student achievement. Now there's parent involvement, all sorts of other things that figure in. And this is the thing that irritates me the most. I spent 15 years in the system. I know it sounds like I was in jail. I know when I say it that way, but I spent 15 years in the system, and it seemed like no matter school, whatever school I was at Dowdell before it was the magnet school, with just a neighborhood school. And what I saw in that community was that the parents who gave a crap about their kids and their education, those kids did well. Those kids did well with teachers who didn't make a lot of money, with parents who didn't make a lot of money. Those kids did well. And I was at other schools that were more affluent, that we didn't have, that the kid didn't have the same thing later on in my career where teachers got paid more, and that kid didn't do as well. So it isn't just teachers say, this keep continually trying to sell. If teachers got paid more, our kids would do better. That fails. That argument fails with me. And to retain and recruit highly to quality teachers and staff, implementing and preserving academic programs and distributing proportional funds pursuant to Florida law with charter schools, shall the District of Hillsborough County levy an ad valorem operating millage of 1 mil. That's a lot. That's a lot.
It is a lot, and it is a lot. And then you add that 1 mil to increased insurance, premiums. It becomes a bear, especially for people who are on fixed income. And let's be honest, especially for teachers, you're not even going to give teacher raises. You're going to give them supplements and then tax their property even more, which really kind of breaks them even for the year just to pay for the property taxes you're going to increase on them. So I believe teachers need to be getting paid more.
Yes.
No doubt. We need to raise the floor on teachers' salary. I think there's no reason that the district right now couldn't pay teachers, starting teachers, raise the floor to $50,000 to $55,000 a year. I think that's a no-brainer. I think they can do that right now if they wanted to. They don't want to because it then ruins their narrative for asking for more money, right? So when you raise the floor and you say, oh, well, now teachers are making above the average, then it kind of, they lose their talking points. So the district has the money to afford it. What they don't have the money to do, and what that ballot language I didn't hear you say is the administration is included in those bonuses. So the teacher who's going to get $6,000, also the administrator is going to get $6,000. And since I left the school district 4 years ago, they have doubled the size of their administrative staff.
Wow.
And all of those folks are guaranteed to get a supplement as well. I didn't read that in the ballot initiative. So, it's not about building the bureaucracy of the school district. It's about putting the resources into the classroom. This ballot language doesn't do that. This is the same exact ballot language that failed in 2022 in a primary election, mind you, where not a lot of people turn out to vote and it still failed. And now they want to put this on the ballot. I just don't think, I think the district is tone deaf. I don't think they're doing right by teachers by not paying them, by not putting, raising the minimum salary. And I think this ballot initiative is going to go is going to fail again, and they're going to have to make the changes to their administration. They're going to have to pay teachers what they're worth, and be competitive. Nobody wants to hear that you're not competitive. That's with Pinellas or Pasco, because your budget is overwhelmingly way bigger than all of their budgets combined. The district's budget is $4.3 billion. It's $1 billion more now than it was when I was on the school district. Just think about that. In 4 years, their budget grew by another $1 billion. So you can't tell me that you don't have the money. This is a money grab. And like you said, educational excellence doesn't happen because of the amount of money. Because the amount of money that they have, they should be providing educational excellence every day. That's their duty. So, I think asking the taxpayers to pay for their administrative spending is too much for folks to do right now.
No doubt. Last one. And this is the city of Tampa. This is kind of weird. Shall the amendment to because this is like you got to dig in here a little bit to know what the heck they're talking about. This is why I hate this stuff on the ballot like this. Shall the amendment to the section 6.01 of the Tampa Charter revising the residency requirement for the officers of the city who conduct the government to apply only to elected officials as set out and proposed by City of Tampa Ordinance number 2024-59 be ratified and approved. Now, help me with this, because right now, in order to, I guess, be a part of the city government, you have to live in the city of Tampa. Is that correct?
That is, well, if you want to work for the city, there's a requirement that you have to live in the city, which really, if you think about it, limits the amount of quality people in a pool to actually, do good government and work for the city. So I've never quite understood that. Like if you live in, for example, if you live in West Chase and you're in unincorporated Hillsborough County, you can't work for the city as a police officer. So, I mean, that really I never quite understood that. We're one big county. The city is in the county. I don't think you should have to live in city of Tampa proper to work for the city. So I think it's kind of long overdue that they kind of fix that. I mean, why it has to be a ballot initiative, I guess it's in the Constitution or it's a rule. But I think it's kind of weird, but I think they're trying to right a wrong with that amendment.
Does it allow people who live, I don't know, anywhere to do business for the city? Not, you know what? Brandon, I get. Riverview, I get. Ruskin, I get. Heck, not far from where I'm sitting now is that, I mean, we're at the very northern part of the city limits, even where I'm sitting now in Temple Crest. Wesley Chapel, I get. But does it allow people to live, I don't know, anywhere? Let's say Davenport, Iowa.
Well, I guess it depends on what the job is. I don't know what the restrictions are, but I do know that I think the city has a hard time filling their job vacancies if they're just trying to pull from the city limits. I know no business in Hillsborough County would ever adopt such a rule that limits the amount of talent that they can bring into an organization. So I understand why they're doing it, but I've always thought it was kind of a weird rule that they only allowed people who live in the city to work for the city. I don't know. I thought it was just strange.
Okay, well, there you go. Steve, thank you ever so much. What you guys aren't going to see is that in the middle of our first take, the power went out. Thanks, Tico. Appreciate you. Bright, sunshiny day. It's, I don't know, maybe 81 degrees out, the light breeze, and
yep. Let's not forget about those increases that are coming as well.
They're coming. They are coming, because what they do is they spend the time when they're not recruiting, people, linemen to come in and do hero work. They spend a lot of time before the Public Service Commission asking for more money. Anyway, did you know
it's just money? It's just money, Willie. It's just money.
It's just money. Yeah, okay. So when I rob the bank, I'll just tell them, hey, it's just money.
It's just money.
The Fed will give you
It's
more.
just money.
It's just money.
Right.
Yeah. In any case, Steve, thank you ever so much for spending some time with us today. I think the local folks are really going to dig this. I had a great time. I appreciate it. And listen, have a great rest of the day. Be continually successful. And anytime you want to hop back into this government thing, you got to let me know beforehand. All right.
Yeah, Willie, anytime, and keep doing what you're doing and informing people, because there's a lot of people who go into that ballot box or that voting booth and don't really know exactly what they're voting on. So these types of videos that you're doing are very helpful.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Keep it up.
I will do my best. I promise you that I will. All right, folks. Well, again, thank you ever so much for spending some time with us today. This is the Morning Report. The Morning Report, again, is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now. All right, man.